dirty truth of UK van life. No, I'm only joking, there's no dirty truth, but we've been in this van for over 5 months now, so I thought I'd just do a little video to tell you our experience of it, our opinion of van life in the UK. Is it possible to do? Is it enjoyable to do? Within the last 5 weeks, we've travelled over 1,600 miles around the UK, into Wales, the Lake District, the Peak District, the Shropshire Hills, and now we're in Devon, about 10 minutes away from Woolacombe. We've stayed in over 30 different park-ups, and this is my opinion of it. Start with the negatives. First of all, I must just say that obviously, being in the UK, we're quite a small place. There's a relatively big amount of people in quite a small space, meaning there's not too many hidden gems. What I mean by that is anywhere that's nice, like any beauty spots, beaches, nice woodland walks, nice walks in general, it's all absolutely ramshackled. It is packed, especially in the summer and even more so in the school holidays and bank holidays. And obviously that's fair enough, that's going to be the case because we do live in the UK. That's not amazing for van life, not in our opinion anyway. We drive a relatively big van, and when it's really busy and the car parks are full, it just makes it really hard to one, be able to park, and two, be able to even drive around the area. Much of the roads in the UK are single track, so you're constantly stopping, trying to pull in, so it's just not easy to get around, especially in the school holidays. Every single beach is packed, the car parks are packed. Another negative in my opinion is the facilities. There is not very many facilities for van life or wild camping or motorhomes in the UK at all, whether that be public toilets, bins. There is literally no bins anywhere. We went for probably 2-3 weeks without seeing a single bin. Obviously that's why there is litter dotted around in certain places, but some people, instead of just putting it in the van and just waiting until you do eventually find a bin, they just dump it. And I think that's definitely something that could be improved, is the amount of bins. Points to empty your waste and points to fill up your water. That is basically non-existent. I mean, there is places to fill up your water. The Park for Night app does definitely help with that. They're hard to find. Most of them are in petrol stations. You've got to go in and ask. And then there's some dotted around on like public toilets, but there's really not very many. So you've got to make sure that you fill up when you can, because you might not get another tap for 4 or 5 days. I think all in all, England and the UK as a whole isn't massively set up for van life, motorhomes or big vans. Yeah, the facilities aren't very good, I must say. The 3 on the negative list is the attitude. The attitude on some people in the UK against van lifers or people that live in vans or live off-grid is quite poor. I mean, I think there's quite an even split down the middle between people that think fair enough, in the UK have gone ridiculous, and people are trying to seek other ways of living that don't just engulf all of their money. And there's the other half that seem to think that by living in a van you're taking money directly out of their pocket, whether it be in businesses or taxpayers' money. They have this weird vendetta, resentment against people that live in vans. I don't know why, but they do. Certain places dotted around the UK where that is stronger and more obvious. Like, we found it quite a lot in the Lake District. That seemed to be somewhere they just didn't like van lifers at all. So many fake reviews that locals had left to deter people that live in vans and do van life from coming to stay in the area. They'd put fake reviews on saying, don't come here, you're not allowed to be here. Just try and put you off from going there. I don't really understand that personally, because in my head, surely you'd prefer people to come to the area, even though they're not paying for a campsite, and still spend money in the local area than trying to scare them off to not come at all. I don't know, who knows. Unsure if that's because people have had negative experiences with people in vans. It's because they're not happy with their own lives, or whether they think, oh well, we're paying our taxes and we're working, so why do they get to go and travel around and just have fun? Who knows? Some people in the UK do have a resentment against people that live in vans, and you can tell that by loads of overnight parking signs, fake reviews on Park for Night, and just the vibe. Like, we've been in some places and the vibe just felt like we weren't meant to be there and weren't welcome. If we're legally allowed to be somewhere, then we'll be there. Even the government and the council, you can tell that they're not willing to accept the fact that people are going to start living in vans, and more people are going to start seeking a freer way of living like van life. You just can tell that they're not willing to accept that by making it that you can't wild camp and you can't sleep in lay-bys. And more places are becoming overnight parking, like car parks, and every single place near a beach is no parking. Number 4 on the negatives is the weather. The weather in England and the UK as a whole isn't ideal. Even in the summer, you'll have days and days of just rain and grey weather, so you can't guarantee sun. Unlike a lot of other countries, like in Europe and stuff, where in the summer you can almost guarantee that most days are going to be at least warm. In the UK and England, you can't guarantee that at all. It's annoying because you sort of go to the beachy areas expecting to be able to go to the beach, and that just, you can't guarantee that at all. And it's not a big issue, but being in a van in the rain is nowhere near as fun as being in a van in the sun. Number 5, the roads. Many of the roads in the UK are not designed for a vehicle bigger than a smart car or a moped, it feels like, or even like a small pony and carriage, I think, a lot of the time. They're thin, they're hilly, it's just not easy. Some of the corners are like proper hairpins, and the amount of times that I've had the van almost stuck on a hairpin is unbelievable. I mean, don't get me wrong, it is completely doable and you can do it, but it does make driving a lot harder and a lot more tiring. You know, there's none of them nice big open roads like in America. There's pretty much no road in England is straight apart from the motorway. Every single country lane is full of bushes, single lane tracks. Number 6, if you can't find a park up because there's no overnight camping signs and you want to stay in a campsite, they have gone up quite a lot in price over the last 5 years. And if you were to stay in a campsite every single night, you'd end up spending more than rent to stay there, because some of them are £50 a night just for a field. Don't get me wrong, I do understand that things have gone up and campsites can't be open the full year. I still struggle to understand how it can cost £50 a night. I don't know. I just can't understand how it costs that much. Like £50 a night just for a field and a singular toilet block. That just blows my mind. Locals can't moan at people from wanting to stay in free park-ups when the campsites in the local area are so extortionately priced. 5-10 years ago, you could easily go to a campsite for a tenner. That has gone now. The cheapest possible campsite that we have found that has like a toilet, say, not even electric hookup, is £22 a night. But I understand that that is the way of the world and things have gone up. But you can't really moan about people staying in free park-ups and lay-bys and cluttering up your car parks if you're going to have the campsites that's so unaffordable. I'm trying to think about a few things that we thought would be different when starting van life. The only 2 things I have really is, one, we thought campsites would be cheaper and we thought it would be affordable to be able to do 1 or 2 a week. And I mean, maybe they will be in the off-season, but in the high season that is far too unaffordable. And we also thought that there would be more places to park and easier to find. I mean, there is plenty of places to park, but some of them are a bit seedy, you know, you wouldn't want to park there. And then some places, they're just nowhere to park. Like we're currently near Woolacombe, and we're in basically the only park up for miles. There's just no overnight parking constantly. We thought there would be more places to park, like more car parks that you could just park overnight, but there's not. Not in the south especially. In Wales and that, there was a lot more, but in the south it is definitely a lot more sparse to find somewhere to actually park. Oh yes, and I nearly forgot, signal. Signal's been something that we've struggled with quite a lot, and I mean, at first we just got like a dongle, and we're going to be getting Starlink definitely. We were in the middle of absolutely nowhere, surrounded by mountains in Wales, and we had brilliant signal. Then you come into Exmoor, you know, there's no signal. You can't find either phone signal, 4G or Wi-Fi anywhere. That can get quite stressful when you're trying to find somewhere to park, but you can't search for somewhere to park or look at the maps because there's no signal. That's something to consider, you know? Now enough of the moaning, what about the positives? Obviously living in a van, doing van life in the UK does have its negatives. Like everything, it has its negatives. And it's not easy, and compared to a lot of other countries, I think the UK and England is a lot further behind, except in the fact that people do travel in vans. Now, even though there's all of these negatives I've mentioned in van life, don't let that put you off from actually doing it. There's so many positives, like it being a lot cheaper than living in a house. Whilst it being cheaper than living in a house, you also get to travel and do all of the things that come with travelling, like meeting new people, trying new foods, seeing amazing places all around the UK and even Europe. And just the memories you make far, far outweigh any of the negatives, in my opinion. Life is the closest way for you to achieve freedom. Wherever you go, your home is just behind you. So to me, it's worth any of the inconveniences that I've mentioned in the video, and that's all they really are. They're not reasons to not do van life. They're just things to consider, you know? Another one of these next month after a second month of van life. But that is my opinion on van life in the UK. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll be uploading more and more on YouTube over the next couple of weeks. We've just been trying to get used to the whole living in the van situation. If you want to see more van life content, subscribe and like it and comment as well, please.